Welcome to Torah Smash, the podcast for nerdy Jews, where our lives of Jewish learning collide with our love of nerd culture. In each episode, we discuss what we lovingly call a Torah Smash, which we have defined as a beautiful collision of one thing from the world of Judaism with another from nerd culture. I am RDY, and joining me today are
Barack Malkin.
Ethan Lane Miller.
As I have mentioned to the two of you, the topic today is liturgy. And I think what we should start with is, what is liturgy? And I always thought of liturgy as the written part of the service, the keva, as it were. The keva is fixed, and it's usually used as opposed to kavanah, which is intent. So you do need both to have a full prayer experience in Jewish thought. Yes, you could have an all kavanah service and it would still count, and you can have an all keva experience and it would still count. But really, you do need both. But the liturgy, I've always thought of as the keva part of the service, as the fixed part. And while I would still hold that that's true, I was looking up the word liturgy, and the etymology actually comes from the Greek liturgia, which means work or service for the people. So if I were to translate from Greek to Hebrew, a word that means work or service, I would use the word avodah. And avodah is the service. It is the worship service. It is the considered sacred task of being Jewish. When we say the world stands on three things, al haTorah, al avodah, al gemilut chasadim. The world stands on Torah, which is Jewish learning. I'm going to skip. Gemilut chasadim are good deeds, and avodah, in this case, it gets translated as work, and we tend to think of that as like the daily work that we do, like we go to the office and do our job. But really, it means work of the worship service. So the world stands on Jewish learning, Jewish worship, and mitzvot, doing good deeds. But that's avodah itself. I do want to focus on the textual element of the liturgy, where it is.
Can I clarify? Just because I've never studied this word, I would say. And usually when people say like we're going to go to the liturgy, like it means we're going to go to the prayer book, right? That's usually what they say. Is liturgy only used in that sense, right? Because a lot of the prayer book comes from other sources in a sense. And so is liturgy just like the collection of things for the prayer book, or is liturgy like teachings as a general term?
I would translate it the first way. I would say that liturgy is the words that we use for the service.
Okay.
So yes, what is printed in the prayer book.
Okay.
But it doesn't always have to be in the prayer book, because if you're going to sing Coldplay's "Fix You" for the Misha Berach of Healing section of the service, chances are your prayer book doesn't have "Fix You" in it, but it's still the lyrics to "Fix You" are still the liturgy of that service.
Bless you. You've sneezed like 4 times in that sentence. Fix you.
Fix you.
Bless you.
And I was talking about Misha Berach for healing, so I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah.
There are 3 basic services in Jewish practice. There is Mariv, which is the evening service, Shacharit, which is the morning service, and Mincha, which is the afternoon service. And each one of those comes from the word evening, morning, and afternoon, technically evening, dawn, and afternoon. And each one has its basic pattern. The morning service is a little bulkier than the other two, because there are things that a person used to do upon waking that got moved into the temple, into the service at the synagogue. And there are blessings that are like warming up for the day and all of these things that you're supposed to do in the morning, liturgically speaking. Whereas the afternoon and evening service are basically the main chunks of the service. So the parts that you probably are familiar with if you've gone to a service are like Baruch Hu through Amidah. the Baruch Hu, there are two blessings between Baruch Hu and Shema, and then the blessing of redemption that we call Michamocha, and then that's usually followed by the Amidah. That section, that's kind of the meat of the service. And it's set up in such a way that it creates a dramatic arc for us, where we want to experience feeling just like we would when we were in a theater. But it all comes from these words that may or may not speak to us, but we go and we say them over and over, and we sing these songs over and over, week after week. And sometimes we do it to the same melody for years. And sometimes we change the melody every week or month or however often. And so this idea that we engage with the same words over and over and over. Some people 3 times a day engage with these same words. In the morning and evening and afternoon service, there are slight alterations for some of the words, but the core words are the same.
Mm.
My question to you, what is the nerd culture of going to the text again and again and again?
Oh, it's a culture-based one?
Every time I rewatch Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you get it in one?
Yeah.
Oh, there was a point in this where you were talking about like it's the same things, but it's for different purposes, and like you experience them slightly differently. And I thought we were going to do Spider-Man Noir with the black and white and the color version.
Oh, I can't wait to my daughter is watching that, and she's declared that she doesn't like this stuff anymore. So I can't wait. I cannot wait to watch it.
Oh, I was really hoping this was a Spider-Man Noir episode.
Well,
Okay.
this is now because Noir is not. I mean, I figure we should probably do Spider-Man Noir when it is it all has it all been
Yeah,
released
I've
once?
watched it. Yeah.
It's okay. So we'll check it out. And we'll do that soon.
Yes, please.
I'll put it on my list.
Barack, I know you know that I'm doing this, Ethan. I don't remember if I told you. Um, I I am in the process of watching through the entire Marvel universe to prep for Doomsday.
Oh, fun.
When we were sitting at home in COVID, we watched through all of the movies to prep for Endgame.
Yeah.
But that was 32 movies, and that was basically my first 2 weeks of prep for this.
And no TV shows.
And no TV shows.
Yeah.
The calendar that I'm using to guide my journey through the Marvel Cinematic Universe started in mid-April, and each week they give you a list of things to watch that will get you through the MCU and all of the things that whoever produced this assumes you will probably need to get every nook and cranny you can out of Doomsday.
Oh my gosh. Do
Yeah.
you have to watch any of the pre Endgame TV shows like Agents of Shield or
I was gonna ask that, and like, you know, do they need like the Hulk movie? Like,
are you watching
what's our
the
level of?
Are you watching the X-Men movies?
All right, so the list has 95 different properties to watch.
Oh my goodness!
And each time something, if it's a movie, it's one property. If it's a season of a TV show, it's one property.
Oh my gosh.
I don't see Agents of Shield, which I'm kind of glad about. Because like a lot of TV shows for me, it stopped being a superhero show and started being a teen drama show.
Oh, I liked it.
I mean,
it probably doesn't have Inhumans then, which was not great.
Inhumans is Inhumans. I thought I remembered Inhumans being.
Oh
no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay.
It had the Eternals, which was equally.
Okay.
I said the first 2 weeks. It was the first 4 weeks. The 22nd property to watch was Avengers Endgame, and 23 was Spider-Man Far From Home, and that got you through week 4. I am currently in week 7, but I am watching from week 8 because I'm going on a cruise, and it's gonna cut me out of watching for a week.
Man, it's tough when the cruise gets in the way of you.
Yeah, of all your free time of movie watching. Yeah,
all of my free time. But like anytime I'm watching TV, I'm watching this stuff.
Yeah. Oh.
which is why I haven't watched Spider-Man Noir yet. One of the things that I've discovered in these past 7 weeks is I'm really enjoying watching these properties, knowing what transpires and how the characters have developed. And I'm noticing things that they say that were throwaway lines when in a first watch, and maybe throwaway lines in later watches, but they're hitting me now.
Hmm.
And I think that tendency for us to want to go back to familiar stories is a universal tendency. This is why our kids request the same TV shows and stories and things again and again and again, whether they're our bio kids or our camp kids or our students or whatever. They to have that familiarity with what's going to happen is very comforting. And that's why I think the liturgy is equally comforting. That idea that we're going to go to the same words every week or every day, or in the case of the holidays, every year. And it's going to comfort us, even though we said exactly those words last year or yesterday or last week. And maybe they hit us the same way, maybe they hit us differently. But it does bring comfort to just kind of sit and say the words we know and be able to relax with the community and let the prayers either affect us or wash over us, or maybe just allow the prayers to be ignored so we can sit with our friends. And I think all three of those are valid purposes and reasons for being there. Questions for you. Are there elements of a prayer service, elements of the liturgy specifically, that you really connect with, and then I would say especially if you think they're um, not so common to connect with?
Hmm. I always enjoy the song after the silent prayer happens. Um, Usually like a Shalom Rav or a Yehi Leratzon.
Yeah.
Really enjoy that. And I think it's because that when my sister and I had our B'nai Mitzvah, we did Yehi Leratzon like together after that, and we tried to like harmonize as like teens. It was not great. If I'm sure there's a video of it, it's probably doesn't sound great. Um, but I that like coming back from that moment of reflection to this like beautiful slow song, like they never just hop in with some like upbeat thing. It's always it slowly brings you back in, and it might not be unordinary, but that is something that I always thoroughly enjoy is coming back with that.
That's so fun because I was gonna say the silent prayer.
Hey,
It's it is it's your moment, and it doesn't matter how many people you have assembled. You're probably potentially all thinking of something very different, and yet it is still one
yeah.
big unifying moment.
And there actually are words to the silent prayer.
Sorry, I just nodded, which is unhelpful in this format. Um, yes, I recall the words in the prayer book or the words in your heart.
Yes, which is a thing that a lot of us say who lead the liturgy. The idea of a silent moment is that you can choose. You can go to those words. The Talmud says that you can pray in Hebrew even if you don't understand it, and you can pray in any other language as long as you understand it.
Mhm.
So Hebrew you don't have to understand because it's Lashon Kodesh, it's the holy tongue. But any other language, if you're going to use another language to pray in, you have to understand it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and which kind of like brings a memory of my father, of blessed memory, when we were in Jerusalem together, and Natalie and I took my parents to our favorite place to go to Shabbat services, and my dad goes, "It was okay, but all the English parts were in Hebrew."
I always get thrown when I visit another country's synagogue because you expect English and Hebrew, and wherever you are, it's Hebrew and whatever that language is, which
Yeah.
is so ignorant of me. Like every time I was like, this is so fascinating. For them, they're just having, if they came to America, it would be the same like ridiculous response.
Yeah.
I went to a service in Moscow with a friend of mine when it came to the sermon, the teaching. Everything else was in Hebrew, very, very little Russian. So we were good. And the thing that really blew my mind, this is Moscow 2002. They sang Debbie Friedman
Yeah, so nice.
Wow.
In Russian?
in Hebrew.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
There's another part of the service that I want only in certain moments, and it's because it brings me to tears every time. If at the end of the service a congregation chooses to sing "May we be," I forget the name of the song, "May we be blessed as we go on our
The
way," that
Traveler's
one.
Prayer. Yeah.
Yeah, my congregation sang that almost weekly growing up, and my mom would always want to like hold us arm in arm, and like we'd always as kids like, "Don't run me, get off of me," right? Like, and then she died, and they I think it might have been, if it wasn't at the funeral, it was shortly thereafter that I was at a service, and I was probably back in my home congregation, and so they sang it, and I lost it. Like I just feel that, and if I ever like need a good crying, I will just play that song or sing it to myself, and I just feel that emotional connection. And so that is something that I don't know if it's a look forward to, but there's this like want or expectation when that song comes around that is it pulls me back into that moment. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Ethan, you brought up rewatching Star Trek episodes.
Yeah.
Is that something you do ritualistically, or you go episode, you pick an episode, or like I feel like watching this one? How does that work for you?
If I'm going to rewatch, I commit start to finish to a series.
Wow.
We've talked about it, but like I think within a month of Kaya's death, I started a rewatch of Deep Space Nine. And I think it was fulfilling some of the same things that we're kind of talking about here of a ritualistic thing. And also I believe the episode I did about this was seeing things in Captain Sisko's life and how he dealt with grief in a different light as I was embarking on my own very fresh grief journey at the time.
Yeah. And when people are no longer in our lives, either through death or slow loss of contact or whatever, I do find that moments of liturgy hit me differently in thinking of them from time to time. You telling that story just now reminded me of how my grandmother used to tell me after my grandfather died, my grandmother and I would go to services occasionally if we were in the same city, and she told me that he used to grab her hand during Oseh Shalom, and she never knew why. But it always made her think of him, like Oseh Shalom always made her think of my grandfather. And the one time after I knew that, they were like putting everyone was in the room was like putting their arms around each other during Oseh Shalom, and I held my grandmother's hand, and she turned to me and she just kind of like nodded and which was my grandmother being incredibly sweet, and it was one of those moments that shows the power of the familiar words.
Hmm.
What about the unfamiliar words?
At this point in my career, the liturgy is all familiar to me. So tell me what you mean.
I shared this story at Kaya's funeral, and I don't know that I shared it here with you all, and I, by extension, all of our listeners. Kaya's favorite TV show was New Girl, and she wanted to watch it with me, but she also never really asked. Because I would have said yes. Like, of course I would watch this with you. And the punchline, the end of the story is that one day we're just sitting on the couch together. She just turned to me out of nowhere and went, "Hey, if I watch Star Trek, would you watch New Girl? And I said yes so quickly. And of course, I would have just said, if she just said, do you want to watch New Girl? But I said yes so fast, so enthusiastically, that she like paused and then looked at me and went, how much Star Trek is there?
Right. That was my first question of this exchange. Absolutely.
And it was just a wonderful little button on that moment. And so
I think the surprise, Ethan, was when you found out there were 32 seasons of New Girl.
right. Yeah. New Girl, the next generation.
Yeah.
There's liturgy out there. There is New Girl that I have not watched yet, that at some point in my life I will watch, and it will carry deep meaning for me when I do.
Yeah.
It's rare for me to do a rewatch. Like, I've got a pretty good visual memory, and so I don't frequently go back and watch movies or TV shows. I do sometimes. I think I've shared with you guys that I am doing some of it is rewatch, but I haven't seen a lot of them, right? I watched the Transformers franchise. Don't do that to yourselves, folks.
It's awful. I didn't like it the first time I did it.
I'm currently going through the James Bond movies, but I haven't seen a lot of the older ones. My wife Michelle will frequently rewatch like the Voyager series, or she rewatched all of Grey's Anatomy. Like, I don't know if I've ever gone back and done that, even for like my favorite shows that I've had. And I was trying to think of like I'll rewatch movies now because my kids are watching movies that I haven't seen in a while. And so I want them to watch these things too. So I'll rewatch it with them. Growing up, I rewatched stuff all the time because all we had was cable. And so whatever was on is what you got to watch. So as a kid, I rewatched movies frequently. As an adult, I don't do it very much. And I think the one thing that I do revisit frequently nowadays is board games, right? And I only started tracking my plays on the app Board Game Stats maybe a year and a half ago. But there are games on there that I've played 30, 40, 70 times since I've started tracking. And so those things I'll explore. And like some people would say maybe there's like a strategy learn that's going on, but I like discovering, new artwork on the cards, or these new phrasings on different parts of the map or the instructions or something that I didn't notice the other times around, that I'm able to see these different parts of the board game. So that might be my like again and again situation, because I don't do a lot of rewatch stuff. I just like, time is so limited that I feel this like want to complete other things, and I don't go back to favorites, and maybe I should.
I think the difference with a board game, though, is that the text is different every time, which is part of what makes the board game exciting.
Sure, right? The for a lot of them, the cards are the same, the boards are the same, right?
But the order changes.
Right.
Like if you're drawing cards, you're going to shuffle them. If you're rolling dice.
Yeah, that's true. You've never done a service out of order?
I experienced a service out of order this year, in fact. Early on in my tenure in Pittsburgh, a young people's group were leading services. And when I asked if they needed help, the person who I asked seemed a little insulted. So I didn't say another word. And I attended the service, and it was done completely out of order. And if you remember at the beginning of the introduction of this episode, I said that the liturgy is designed to create an arc of feeling. And the order is what gives it that arc. So to do the prayers in a totally different order than how they were written was disturbing in a way that was not prayerful for me.
Interesting. Like somebody who's playing the service in a minor key.
No, because that's still the same words, and it's more like they're doing, like, if you do the service starting with Kaddish, then it kind of throws off the whole rest of the service.
Interesting.
What about, I think there's other things, like we talked about, like movies or TV shows and board games. And there's people like me who will, bounce between like playing a new video game or replaying a classic, or one that's personally like, something that we enjoy. So, we've talked about Mass Effect, these big like role playing games where you can make different choices in the game, but you're still playing the same game. It's still scratching that same itch.
I wonder if Ethan, you and I are wrong in this because the movies and the TV shows, the way that they're created, just like RDY said, there's an arc, right? There's this emotional connection through these different elements that has you feeling something because of the way it's being delivered. But when we play board games or video games, it's changing based on your decisions, right? That we are impacting those things, whereas a movie and TV show, we are not impacting those things.
And the liturgy we're not is not changing based on how you feel about it.
Yeah, so maybe just the repeat thing isn't that aspect, but the
It's
intended arc that you talked about is that element of that. The feeling is what's more the important piece.
in some spaces, in some religious spaces, the liturgy is exactly the same every day. Every time you go to the liturgy, it's the same words, it's the same melodies. There are places that have not changed their melodies ever.
And
And
then the interim rabbi comes in and
there are places that when their interim rabbi comes in, that rabbi learns their melodies.
okay.
I haven't worked at any of those. But and I'm thinking also more of our like more traditional capital T colleagues where and communities where the Orthodox community is going to have their way of doing services that is not going to change because a Debbie Friedman, well, especially a Debbie Friedman, but and we'll say an Alan Goodis writes a new great version of the liturgy because they're not going to use it because that's not the music that came from Sinai according to them.
Right.
That was said tongue planted in cheek at the Sinai part, but they really don't change it at all. But they still go back and do it again and again and again and again, and I think that's where it's more geared towards a rewatch of a TV show or a movie, maybe even listening to a song that's not like a live recording. That's an album cut where you're going to listen to it again and again and again because it brings up feelings, even if the feeling is, I want to dance. The words don't change, but we do. Our experience of the world does. And sometimes it's just our mood. There are sometimes when we are doing services where a really brief service, for whatever reason, it's short. Like, a kid is leading the service and has to skip things because they don't know the Hebrew, or we're going to do something that's going to take a long time, so we're kind of rushing through the service. There are times when those services feel incredibly long. And there are times when services where we just had a service last month where we were saying goodbye to the singular community as we're forming this double community. And that service to me felt so quick. And it was the longest Friday night service we've done all year. The reason it felt quick is because there were a lot of participants, which is the reason it wasn't quick, but there were a lot of participants, but they all spoke so beautifully and from such a different space. So sometimes a really long service can feel really quick. I use the same example for Hamlet. I was on a kick of seeing as many different versions of Hamlet as I could in the mid to late 90s. And
What an interesting, what an interesting search of like franchise.
it was when I was being a real cultural snob. I wasn't watching TV at the time. I was a different person.
I will let you finish your sentence in 1 second. What is the most fun version of Hamlet?
Yeah, I went to a Hamlet that was about 8 hours long. It had a long break and two short breaks. Actually, there might have been four breaks total, a break between each act,
Oh my gosh.
and one of them was particularly long, and they served food.
This doesn't sound fun.
It was one of the best
Oh, okay, cool.
that I had ever seen. And I went to one that was super fast. It was like a 30-minute Hamlet, and I was like, yeah, you're skipping the good parts. But
We have
interesting.
this summer Austin Shakespeare is coming into camp to do some things with
Oh,
the
fun.
kids. We didn't end up going with this option, but one of them was a like a 15-minute Hamlet and then a 5-minute Hamlet and then a 1-minute Hamlet performance, which I do want to see at some point.
That concept of the 15 5 and 1 minute Hamlets, that comes from a show, which is I think called 30 Minute Shakespeare. I'm not
Oh, fun.
100% sure of the name, but it's something like that.
All right, I didn't mean to pull you on the tangent. I was just curious if there was like a pig themed one. That's why I wanted to ask. All right, you can go back to your.
That's funny.
You can go back to yours.
I even liked it when like the what was it, the was it Baz Luhrmann who did the Romeo plus Juliet? Is that his
Maybe.
name?
Maybe.
Okay. The Leo DiCaprio Romeo plus Juliet
Yeah.
movie, they modernized the setting but did not change the words.
Yes, I remember
So that,
this.
which I loved, because they would say, "Oh, I've seen you've drawn your saber," and the person was holding a gun, and on the gun was etched the word saber as if it was a brand. I thought that was phenomenal, and I think that's a great way to change the setting better than, even though the word pistol and the word saber have the same cadence, there's something respectful about not changing the words at all.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, sorry. I hope you could find your trail again.
No,
For
it's
you.
okay.
Okay.
What about your kids, Barack? Do your kids watch shows over and over that you end up watching
My
with
God,
them?
kid. Well, I loved when they watched Bluey over and over again. I loved Bluey. I will say, not in the same way, I am listening to the Smallville rewatch podcast. And so the two main characters who played Superman and Lex Luthor are rewatching the entire series and talking about it episode by episode. And so I'm like, in a sense, rewatching it because they describe the episode and talk about the behind the scenes stuff as it goes on. And so that I'm rewatching. And yeah, I don't, again, as a kid, I did it all the time based on what was on the TV guide or the guide channel, whatever it was that was, looking through. I just I don't do it a lot. If I have time, I want there's so right. Ethan had said, what about the stuff that the liturgy you don't watch, right? Like that's there's so much stuff out there that I've never had a chance to see or watch. That I want to explore that. I just want to experience the other pieces, right? I want to go to see the services in the other countries, right? Like I want to experience it differently, even though, right, there's only 10 stories right? Was it 10 stories in the world?
Six plots.
Yeah, 6 plots, right? So like I just want to experience them in the different ways. I think it's curious and interesting.
And it
That's
is interesting because like essentially it's the choice where we have like so many choices of what to watch.
Yeah.
I think some of us am I going to rewatch? Or am I going to start this new thing? And a lot of the time I pick rewatch.
Really?
for
Yeah.
me, like if I'm sitting around at night and I want to watch something that I don't want to put my full attention on,
Sure.
like I'm falling asleep or I'm, doing something on the, on the computer, I'll watch a movie I've seen before, usually an action movie, so that I'm not paying attention while they're talking and I'm staring at the screen while they're running or fighting or chasing. What about stuff like that for you two?
I don't do that.
You
If I
don't
if,
you
You don't
don't
passively watch?
no. No, if I'm putting
Yeah.
something in the background, it'll be music.
Same. I can't. My wife can. That's how she's watched all of Grey's Anatomy and Voyager again, is that she can put it on while she's working and actually experience it while she's doing so. I can't do that. I can't, if
Oh,
there's other words, I can't focus on something else. So if
Yeah.
I have a couple of playlists that I have available to me that are all either instrumental or background music and they're like versions of songs that I really like, but they're instrumental versions. So there's no words that are going to throw me, but I'll enjoy the music of it. And so I have that going on, but I can't passively watch something while I'm doing something else. If I
that's
like it, I'm gonna want to look up and experience it again.
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you telling me, RDY, are you on your phone during services then?
No.
Like, if you're experiencing this over and over again, are you gonna just, you know, sort of passively experience the service?
I will say that is something that I don't do for two reasons. One is because when I'm on the Bema, that's just ridiculous.
Sure.
Like I know that there are people who do that. I do not like it. And then when I'm not on the beam, if I'm in the service, I just find it disrespectful.
Yeah, same. Watch the movie.
If I was in a movie theater, I
Yeah.
would and if I'm when I'm in a movie theater, I put
Oh
my
yeah.
phone on airplane mode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So same with a play. So it's the difference between personal watching and communal watching.
Is there something in this rewatch that you two do? Let me ask you this. Right throughout the service, there's like these points to help make sure that you're staying connected, right? There's call and responses, there's a lot of prayers and everybody says amen. Like when you're going through this, is there something when you're doing a rewatch that always sort of reconnects you and pulls you back in, even though you've seen it again? And you might your if your mind trails or not, I guess not you, Ethan, because you're so super focused. But but RDY, are there things that when you're watching, like pull you back to remind you you're doing this rewatch and you're part of this experience?
Absolutely. And it depends on the what it is that I'm watching, of course.
Yeah.
There are moments like take Avengers Endgame, for example. There are so many moments in that movie. I would not put that on as a background movie because there are so many moments again and again and again in that movie where I just want to sit there and watch and cry. In fact, the first time I saw the movie, the two children who were living in the house still sat on either side of me because they wanted to watch me crying during the movie because they had heard things about it. I think one of them said I cried 9 times and the other one said 12. It was over the course of 3 hours, totally justified. It could have even been more. But those moments still tear at my heart. I might not all out bawl at them anymore because I've seen it enough and I can prep myself. But there are like when Peter Parker in Infinity War fades away at the snap
Yeah.
and you can see like it does I just feel like especially in my most recent watch through that moment has changed for me because I I have a greater understanding of how powerful Spider-Man is that he knew he was dying
Yeah, he
whereas
felt
everybody
this
else.
coming. This spider sense kicked in.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it might have been Spider Sense, but it was also like most people, these superheroes, super soldiers and Wakandans and genetically altered people would say, "Oh, I feel funny," and then whoosh, they would dissolve away. Whereas Peter Parker, it was like 30, 45 seconds of him saying like, "I'm sorry, I don't want to go," and he's fighting it. No other hero could do that. Moments like that, realizing how much slower Spider-Man's dusting was than everybody else's, kind of highlights for me what a powerful hero he must be. And probably also why he's got more movies in the MCU than the other characters, because he's
Yes.
just that
Does
that
is he
kind
up
of
to that
power.
point? Does he now have more than Iron Man in them? Or
I don't know that as a character,
yeah,
I don't think he appears in more than Iron Man,
yeah,
but as like Spider-Man movies, there are more Spider-Man movies than there. I mean, I'm counting also the Tobey Maguire movies and
sure,
the
okay.
Amazing movies. So like
And the
there are more
Spider-Verse,
Spider-Man
yeah,
titled movies than ever. Oh yeah, the Spider-Verse too, like the animated ones with
yeah.
Miles Morales, which are phenomenal also. With the liturgy, when we say the same thing day after day, and for my colleagues who've been screaming at the radio the entire episode, there are slight changes in the morning, afternoon, and evening, in the daily. On Shabbat, there are different things. The melodies change. My wife, who is as you know, a cantor, will tell you that if you pull a Honi the Circle Maker and fall asleep under a carob tree and then wake up 100 years later and find everything is different, you can wander into a synagogue and just hear the melodies that they're using, and you can know what day of the week it is, what time of year it is,
Mm,
what, if it's a holiday, what time of day it is. And that's all based just on the way the melodies and some of the word changes. The one that's probably most common to those of us who go to Shabbat services occasionally is the switch in the Amidah in the wintertime. The second blessing of the Amidah has a line that says Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem, which means we're thanking God for bringing on the wind and the rain. And in the summertime, that switches to Murid Hatal. That line is switched out. Now, that is the reform version of that particular moment in the service. In a much more traditional service, Murid Hatal has nothing. It's you say Mashiv Haruach or you don't. The idea of adding Morid Hatal instead of saying nothing was an innovation of Rabbi Isaac Mayer Wise, and he put it in his prayer book Minhag America, which was I think maybe only ever used by B'nai Jeshurun, which was his congregation in Cincinnati, now called Wise. But he innovated that we should say something else. But that idea of being aware of what season it is reflected in the liturgy too. But all those changes aside, there is comfort in saying the same thing again and again and again. And it can do two things. It can allow you to let the words wash over you the way Brock, your wife, and the way I do when we're watching something while still working. You know, that it's familiar enough that it can wash over us and we can focus on the task at hand. And maybe that task at hand is centering in a prayer service. So the words themselves are washing over you, but you're focused on the task of centering. Or maybe you're focused on the words themselves because a word jumps out at you. And no matter where you are, you know, at this stage in your life, that's the point of the service is to let it hit you differently from time to time and let it wash over you at other times. And maybe it's just kind of connecting with the people in the room, you know, holding your grandmother's hand, remembering people who would have loved a particular moment or song or what have you. That's, I think, the purpose of liturgy as well as any rewatch.
It'd be cool if you rewatched something and got to like you woke up and you're like, "What time is it?" And you're like, "Oh, this episode is on. I know what time it is now."
It used to be, you know, if it back in the day that you were describing earlier of like HBO would play 4 movies for a month.
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, that it's pretty spot on. Like the whole falling asleep situation. Like if I fell asleep watching a TV show and I woke up because I fell asleep, I would know what time it was based on how many episodes had passed. Hopefully I wouldn't have to recognize what season it is. Like outside of like the time of the year, as you were saying, with the person who wakes up with the character.
Didn't Joel Swedlove, one of our guests, say that he does like a yearly rewatch of some things?
Yes.
Oh, I think you're right. I don't remember what it was though.
I forget what it is.
Joel, write in.
So sorry, Joel.
I want to say one of them was Deep Space Nine, but I'm biased.
Right. You're just remembering hearing yourself say that over and over and over again. It's making me want to go and see like which TV series do I want to rewatch? And there's a few out there that I've seen that I would be down for going through them. They're just long, I think.
What's your list?
I think the stuff that's coming back to me, and I don't think all of them hold up, and that's the problem. Like I would enjoy going back and watching Smallville again. Like that was a huge part of my life.
Well, the first 3 seasons anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Lost. I thoroughly enjoyed that as a once through. I would be up for that one again. I'm curious how I would feel rewatching the Marvel movies. Like I've rewatched some of them, but I've never gone back. Like if it's very rare that I've rewatched a series, right? I remember this. I went back and rewatched all of Agatha All Along because it was that good for me that is something that I rewatched when it happened. And I'm glad that I did because there was a lot of stuff that I caught, but I enjoyed that one so much I watched it again. That's a rarity for me.
I have not gotten to Agatha All Along in my list yet, but rewatching WandaVision was fantastic.
Yeah.
I caught so much more.
That's cool. Yeah.
And now we get Vision Quest to get excited for too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of Torah Smash. Our fiscal sponsor is Jewish Creativity International. Our theme music was created by Sean Fogel. You can check out Sean's bands and studio work at www.thesleepywest.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen. It helps others find us and is an excellent way to support the podcast. We want to hear from you and continue today's nerdy discussion. Go to torahsmash.com to find where to connect with us online, purchase swag from our store, support us with a donation, find previous episodes, and more. And the reason I looked up the etymology of liturgy is because I thought it was going to be related to literal or literature. Either way, it's lit.
Would it be nice to fast forward through the sermon?
Hey.
It's so cringe.
Stolen from Ethan.
Which, like, the fact that it's cringe kind of means it's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Always.
Brock, are you letting me keep that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, what was wrong with it?
He was like an excited child.
I was kind of aiming more for like Super Smash Brothers announcer, like Ethan Lane Miller.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Do you want to stop the recording now?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's fine.